All right, guys. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Gentle Flutter. I am your host, Naya Weems, and today we will be discussing being honest with yourself as a foundation for self growth and how that plays a huge part of the self love journey. So, yeah, as you can probably tell, my voice is a little not sounding the best right now. I am a little bit under the weather. Everyone's getting sick. So, I mean, when I woke up and I felt like this, I wasn't like too surprised, but yeah, I'm like at my lab right now, or like at the library for my lab. I'm thinking I might go in for like a little bit, just do what I need to do, and then I'll probably head home early, or I'll probably go home after this. I don't know, but I'm very, this is all part of the self-love journey, is really taking care of yourself, taking care of your body. Obviously everyone has stuff to do, but if your body's telling you you need to rest, please listen and please rest. So yeah, honestly, I might go home after this, just so I can rest and relax. Cause you can feel yourself when you're feeling like, you can tell when you're like very fatigued and you just need to sleep. Like I got a lot of sleep last night, but I feel like I still woke up. Like I woke up energized, but now I'm like kind of, the tiredness is like coming back. So, which is to be expected when you're under the weather. But anyway, hang in there with me today. We're going to try to keep this under 20 minutes. I actually already set a timer so that I can keep track of everything, of how much I'm talking, because I know I'll just go on and on and on and like completely lose track of time. So yeah, going to keep this under 20 minutes. Okay, so I had some points that I wanted to hit on today. The first thing is a question that I wanted to ask you guys. And that question is, what does it mean to be honest with yourself? Do we actually know what that consists of? What does that look like? So being honest with ourselves is really acknowledging our feelings, our flaws, our behaviors, and our overall truth when it comes to different things, even when they're uncomfortable. I think that's kind of like the key part there, is that it may be uncomfortable. It may be hard to look at our truths and look at the things that we can improve on. But when you're honest with yourself, that's what you do, no matter how hard it may be. So, yeah, before we even like dive into it, I think that's like the first thing I wanted to kind of just touch on and go over, is like, what actually is self-honesty? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? No matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, I think it truly is just being honest about how you're feeling, about how a person's making you feel, about how a situation is making you feel, maybe a circumstance, and then also how your own behaviors are maybe playing a part in that situation as well. So for today's podcast, I'm actually going to share a little personal anecdote, little story time that took place, I think last week. It was very recent. Yeah, I think it was last week, and I knew I was going to talk about it today for this week's podcast episode, because it's been weighing on me very heavily. Not as much anymore as it did when it happened, but I definitely wanted to kind of like get into it, and it ties in completely with the theme of today. So, yeah. So, to make a long story short, I'm not going to go into too many details, but I moved into the apartment that I'm living in about a few months ago. It's been more than a few months. It's January now. I moved in September of last year. And I really love the place. I love the apartment. I have two really awesome roommates. But last week, I received a text from one of my roommates that was what I would say pretty passive aggressive. It wasn't outwardly rude or mean or disrespectful, but it was very passive in a way where it made me feel like she was looking down on me, almost as though I was a child and like she was my mom or something. Like, it wasn't like this overt rudeness or meanness, but sometimes, when people are being passive aggressive, that can feel worse sometimes, because it's like, shoot, I'd rather you just be honest and like no, let me not say I'd rather than be mean, but like, it doesn't help when people are being passive aggressive either. So basically, to give you some background, my roommates are very clean, which is amazing. I'd rather have like super clean roommates than like roommates that aren't clean. I am also a clean person, but for me, I don't really think about doing like a deep cleaning. I'm more of so of like, okay, let's clean up after ourselves. We'll keep our space clean because when we make a mess, we clean it up. For them, it's more so like they want to do like deep cleanings like every couple weeks, which is fine. So we recently created a chore schedule so that we could rotate who is doing these cleanings. Now, when I had agreed to this, which I was like on board with, I think a schedule was better anyway because, it gave some structure to it rather than like not really knowing who was cleaning when. Again, I was fine with everyone just kind of cleaning up after themselves, but it's like, I get like the structure of a chore schedule. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So when I had agreed to it, I didn't realize that I didn't realize like how much time would go into these cleanings. So when it was my turn to do my cleaning, I think I had like the kitchen or something. This was like after winter break, like coming back in January after I had visited home. When it was my turn, I realized like, oh, I don't really have time to do all of this in one sitting, the way that maybe they did. I live an hour away from our house. I live in like more of like this, or sorry, I work in this more of the city of Boston in Longwood, but we live in Medford, so it's about an hour train ride, 45 minutes to an hour train ride. I also working in a lab, I don't have a set schedule. It's very flexible, which I love, but I usually do get home pretty late because I'm usually staying at the lab like 6, 7, 8, so I get home later than the both of them. So the text that I received from my roommate was basically her saying that how do I put this? She was basically telling me that, well, okay, so yeah, so she had texted me asking me, hey, like, when are you going to fully clean the I think it was like fully clean the kitchen and bathroom or fully clean the bathroom because I'm going to be so honest, I literally have not had time to like sit down and like do a hour to 2 hour cleaning of the bathroom. Like that just was not in my schedule for that week that it was my responsibility to do my chores. And so I told her, and she asked me like, when are you going to be able to do the full cleaning? If you're not able to this week, like we can switch and I can take it over for you. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that would be great. Like if you could take it over for me. I'm planning on getting home earlier that following week is what I told her, which is true. So like I should have more time to actually do the cleanings. And her response was, that's fine for this time, like this week, like she's fine with switching, but that her and our other roommate, they're both busy and they both still make time to, to do these cleanings. Like they still make the time for it and how like, they had advertised when they were first posting about the apartment that they are very clean people and that's really important to them. I could read the text, but I'm like, I don't want to go too much into it. That's kind of like you're kind of getting the vibe of it. Like it was very like passive aggressive, like her kind of saying like, not outwardly saying like, okay, you're not cleaning, you're not doing your job. But like, that's like the way she worded it was very much so like, let's do, let's keep in mind, when people, maybe they're not even intentionally trying to like belittle you, but like, that's how it's coming off. That's how the text came off. And it was very emotional for me. Because I am a sensitive person. I'm a sensitive girly. Like, I felt like I was being talked down to. And that wasn't the only time. There's been other times where I felt like she specifically, like, almost babied me a little bit. And I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure, like, what about my personality gave her that vibe. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, yeah, I was not happy with it. I wasn't happy with it because it was very clear that she was, like, being super passive aggressive. So in the moment, I'm not gonna lie, when I responded, I was acting on emotion, but even now, like a week after it happened, I'm so glad that like I acted on emotion actually and that I did message her back because I feel like if I had waited, I probably would have been more calm, but I wouldn't have sent the text. And I think it's really important that like I also got across this point that like, hey, this is basically what I told her was like, hey, like, I totally get that. Definitely understand. I, of course, also want to keep a clean space, that's really important for me as well. But our circumstances are just different. They're very different. Both of you guys have cars. Both of you guys are like home before me. I'm the last one home. I'm usually the first one up as well, I think. Like I just have longer days than them. I work an hour away. I'm not sure where they work, but like it's not, they don't work an hour away and they're not taking the train. They're like driving home. They're both home when I get home. So like, and this is, and I didn't say this to her, but I want to say it here that like I love where we live. I love the apartment. I love where I work. I'm not at all complaining about this. It's just that these are the circumstances. You know, I wouldn't change it because I mean, I really love the apartment. I love Medford. It's really, really, really cute, comfortable town, and I like the idea of like leaving the city and be able to come into the city whenever I want. Like I really love that, and I love taking the Green Line. But that doesn't take away from the fact that yeah, I'm probably way more tired than them, and I also just don't have as much time as they do, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like she wasn't even acknowledging that at all. So that's what I had messaged her back, and I had said that you know our circumstances are very. It's just different. It's not the same, you know. So she didn't respond, never got a response back from her. She ended up like then texting like a little bit later that night in our group chat, and like we came up with like a new schedule and all this stuff. And I had said, you know, this is fine, but like I am gonna have to do my chores on the weekends. The week is not gonna work, so like I'll make sure I get my chores done. Like if it's scheduled for like a Tuesday, I'll have it done like the Sunday before that Tuesday, because you know, I realized like, yeah, the week is not going to work for me. I need to, I'm already getting home late. So when I am getting home, I need to like take a shower and like go to sleep so I can get up the next day and like, you know, get my full 70 hours of sleep. I didn't say all that, but you know, I just told them, yeah, I'll be doing mine on the weekend. So yeah, that's my little personal anecdote. And it was really important to me that I came on here and like actually talked about it, because this was definitely and is definitely a situation where I can really look within to become better. I'm very happy that I sent that message, that you know, I was honest with her, and because I felt, I stand by that. Like, it's just, the circumstances are very different, and she was not at all acknowledging that at all. And maybe I don't think she had been thinking about it, because if you're not in that situation, you really don't have to think about it. So it was up to me to make sure I made that clear. And, you know, that's what I said. I was like, let's keep in mind, da 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 da. And again, I don't even like when people say that to me, but like she was already belittling me. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give you the same energy you're giving me, girl. And again, she didn't respond. So I think she like got the message, but like, yeah. So yeah, looking within. Again, glad I sent that message. I stand by what I said. However, I also can really use this as an opportunity to grow and to be more honest with myself. The truth of the matter is that once I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do like the full cleaning that week, I should have communicated that. That is really like looking back on it now, and like I needed time after she sent that and after that whole situation to really like reflect on myself. Like, what could I have done better? Because there definitely are things I like, yeah, I could have communicated because I think I very early on realized, like, okay, this is like a deep cleaning that's going to take more than like 30 minutes. Like, this is going to take some time. I don't have time during the week to do this, not with my schedule. Like, this is going to have to be something that I do on the weekend. That was up to me to communicate that once I figured that out. And I did not do that. So I can completely understand where like she's coming from, where it's like, she just was like, what, like, are you going to, you know, are you doing the chores? Are you not? Like, you're just doing partial cleanings, not the full cleanings. Like, I completely understand that. And she's completely valid in feeling that way. So yeah, really looking within. That's really what I want to talk about today. Is like really looking within. How can I be better? How can we all be better? You know, how can we use these situations as opportunities to grow and to be honest with ourselves, because that's so important. Also thinking about moving forward in situations like this. What can I do differently? Again, for me, that's being more communicative. Yeah, communicative. Letting both of them know, like, hey, this is the deal for me. Like, this is what I realized. Like, I'm still going to do my cleaning. I just can't do it this week. I'm going to have to wait till Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, like moving forward, what can you do differently? Also, a note that I have is like realizing that a huge part of learning to love yourself, obviously this is a self-love podcast, is being completely honest with yourself when it comes to stuff like this. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's very uncomfortable. It was very, like, in that moment too, when it happened, I couldn't even think about like how I contributed to it. I was just like such in like defense mode, which is like very, I think it's natural as humans. It's like, wait a minute, like, no, I was in complete defense mode. And again, I'm happy with that message that I sent, but after some time had passed, it was like, okay, like, this is like super, super, super uncomfortable. But like, I have to be honest that like I've also played a part in this, and like maybe this could have been avoided a little bit. And then, yeah, also using this as an opportunity to show yourself, like on that note, also using this as an opportunity to show yourself slash myself, talking to myself, compassion and kindness. Like, okay, yes, once I realized like I could have done better, I contributed to this in some way. It's like, okay, you could have, you're human, you make mistakes. Now it's time to like think about what we're going to do differently in the future. It's now like, it's like a cycle, you know what I mean? Just like a butterfly, it's a cycle. It's like, okay, defense mode. And then we go into, oh, wait a minute, I did contribute to this. But then it's like, you don't want to put yourself down because you contributed to it. You want to have that reflection. And then you want to make sure you're using that as an opportunity to be kind to yourself, realizing that making mistakes over and over and over again is a very natural and a very necessary part of being human, huge part of the human experience. And yeah, it's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that maybe you regret or that you realize you could have done differently. That is going to happen. That is going to happen. It's not about that. It's about what you're going to do differently. So just using situations and opportunities like this to really show yourself compassion, to show yourself kindness. I also, I felt like, that was one area where like I was able to show myself like compassion, was like just being kind to myself once I realized like, oh, yeah, I did contribute to this. But also showing myself compassion when it came to like actually interacting with her after it happened. So because she had sent a text with all this and then I had texted her back, I felt like it made it so much more awkward to like see her. And I haven't like actually like physically, I've been like kind of avoiding her, so I haven't really like physically been around her. I haven't physically been around her since it happened. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like a little bit upset because I felt like, there had been other things where she had come to me and like confronted me about it in person. And I appreciated that a lot more because I felt like it was honest, maybe it was hard to hear, but it was honest. With this, she sent a text, and I get it. It's like uncomfortable to talk about and it's awkward. So it's like, I understand her like sending the text instead of like saying something, but I feel like it made it more awkward, like 10 times more awkward than if we had just had like a in-person conversation. So anyway, just saying that I'm also using this as an opportunity to show myself compassion when it comes to like avoiding her and like realizing that it's hard for me to like be around her right now. Like it's still a lot of emotions there. I was not okay with the way she like worded her message and like, yeah, I was just really not okay with it. So it's like showing myself compassion and like kindness when it comes to like, it's okay if you don't really want to be around her. Like that can't obviously last forever. I mean, we literally live in the same house, or roommates, so it's not gonna last forever. But like maybe I feel like in the past I would be like, no, like you need to just go to her, like own up, just like get past this, like not wanting to be around her. And then, yes, eventually I do, but why not use this as an opportunity to like be more gentle with myself and to be okay with the fact that like, yeah, it's hard for me to be around her right now. And I think that's okay. It like just happened. I do plan on like that changing, of course, but yeah. So just some quick, we're at 21 minutes. So, which is fine. Maybe we'll go up to like 25. Or no, I guess I just say we're at 21 minutes since I like started recording. So technically this is like me, once I edit it, it won't be 20 minutes. But some other like points that I did want to touch on before we close is one that, again, it's super uncomfortable, but avoiding this self-honesty, it only leads to barriers. When it comes to your growth, when it comes to your healing, when it comes to your self-love, because when you love someone, you love yourself. When you love someone / when you love yourself, honesty is a huge part of that. You're going to be honest with them, even if it's difficult. Also, again, just like validating and like confirming, like, yes, self-honesty, it's very scary. It's very uncomfortable. There's that fear of failure, that's confronting past mistakes, facing insecurities, all of that. Like it's very uncomfortable. Like I really just want to acknowledge that. Like I completely understand not wanting to do it. It's very uncomfortable, but it's also very, very, very necessary. Also, I watched what's her name? Mel Robbins? I'm forgetting her name, but she has a podcast in Boston. Let me look it up real quick. I think it's Mel Robbins. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, she has a podcast here in Boston. But I was watching one of her podcasts recently, and she was talking about how anger is a gift, and it's also a very powerful motivator. She talked about how our triggers are actually our teachers. And I wrote down this quote that she had said in this podcast where she said, having someone call you out on your BS is one of the most triggering things that can happen to you. So yeah, those are just a few points from like every single podcast I watched at first. And I agree with all of it. I feel like, especially that your triggers are your teachers. I mean, like I'm even thinking about this situation. It triggered me, but it also taught me so much. Like it literally forced me to reflect and think about how I could have been better, how I contributed to the situation, what I'm gonna do moving forward. Like I know I'm definitely gonna get these chores done like the weekend before when I actually have time, and if I can't, again, communicate that. It taught me like your triggers truly are your biggest teachers. So listen to your triggers. Listen when you are upset, when you are in these situations that are making you angry. Listen to what your that situation is showing you. Listen to what your emotions are showing you and telling you. And yeah, that having someone call you out on your BS is one of the most triggering things that can happen to you. It's so true. Because she was talking about how like she was doing this job where she didn't know what was going on. She literally was just faking it. And like eventually like the founders of like the company like found out and like called her out on it. And yeah, it's true. It's super triggering. And I kind of feel like that relates to my anecdote a bit. Because it was like, she did call me out on it. Again, maybe she could have said it in a better way, but and I'm not going to say it was BS because, again, I had my reasons for why I wasn't able to do the full cleaning, but it wasn't done, at the end of the day. It wasn't done, and it was very triggering for me to, like, have a mirror in front of me, where, like, it's like, oh, okay, this is how you can be better. It's hard. It's very, very, very hard, and it's very, very, very uncomfortable. All right, guys, I think we're going to close. This has been nice. This has been amazing. I will see you guys next Saturday. This should be up. I should be able to post this tomorrow. So yeah, see you next Saturday. It's Friday today, but like I usually post on Saturdays. So I will see you guys next Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of the Gentle Flutter. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can also follow me on all my other social media platforms that are linked in the description below. And until next time, please, please, please remember to be gentle with yourself, just like a butterfly. Bye.